Whoa, whoa. What up, what up, what up? How y'all doing? This is Art Life Saturdays, and I'm just excited to get into this. I wanted to talk about just some of the things that I've been able to accomplish and the obstacles that I had to face with pursuing this art. Um, I want to, go back a few notches. What I mean? You know me, I always blend the past in with the future because both of them coincide with one another. But about 10 years ago, 2015, during the Baltimore uprising, uh, I was contacted by Donnell Rawlings to do this this piece. He originally wanted Timberlands when he seen that Snoop Pearson had shared on her account in November 2014 the Wire HD Timbs. When I first met Snoop, I was just doing film. I was following her around, directing her. I wrote the film called Grace at the Midnight. You can check it out on IMDb. And this film was basically a spinoff of off of her book, her memoir called Grace at the Midnight. But we titled the documentary Grace at the Midnight Pain. So me and Snoop grew close. We shot the documentary, we filmed it, we've added people like Michael K. Williams, rest in peace, Mike. We added a lot of mostly some actors from The Wire, Tristan Wilds, Angwan Glover, a few people. But when we was rapping in November 2014, we was reaching a point where I just had to do like post production, like doing the edit because it didn't really get fully completed until a couple of months after November of 2014. In May 2015 was when I finished my finalized edit. Anyway, November 2014, I remember me and Snoop was in East Baltimore, and she was just like, "Yo, when I first met you on Set of the Wire, you was making clothes. Why you stopped?" And I told her I was pursuing film, and she said, "Yo, you need to do both. As a matter of fact, just go on ahead and do these Tims. I'm gonna set you up to do these Tims, and you do them for me, and I'm gonna share them on my account." So I did this. I created like it's what I call the Wire HD Tims, where I had like these nails going inside the leather cushion of the Timberland boot, and I also added like images, and the whole theme of the Wire. Um, the vacant houses, because her character was known, her and Chris Paul was known to put, you know, the bodies inside of vacant houses. So I merged all that into the art piece, and it turned out really dope. It got so much attention that it got the attention of Donnell Rawlings. When Donnell Rawlings got with of the Instagram post, he had messaged me personally, and he was like, "Yo, I need a pair of Tims." So that went on from November 2014 all the way up until spring of 2015, the next year. And that's when he said he was coming to Baltimore for the springtime. But it just so happened that it was within the same time frame as the Baltimore uprising when we lost Freddie Gray. So when this had happened, the whole entire city was on fire, and some malls, some stores were closed because of it. And I was going through a breakup. I was and I was depressed. The person who I was connected to, I was with her for several years. Um, I want to say 5 plus years, you know, and it came to a halt, and I didn't understand it. I felt betrayed. It was all these emotions. And with my uncle Tim, Tiny Tim Harris, rest in peace. When the fire had erupted in West Baltimore, right there where the CVS is, that's called Penn North. His building, it's a lot of senior citizens that stay in that same building. His building was like is connected to the CVS. So when that so when that happened, I was worried about him. I wanted to immediately come to his aid. He told me to fall back. And at the time, me and my ex, we already had broke up. But when this had happened, the city was, it was an outcry. And I remember it was a fire that erupted in East Baltimore that had nothing to do with the uprising that was happening in West Baltimore. And the fire had spread onto some row homes right there on Federal Street, right across the street from Save Land. If anybody watched The Wire, you remember the Save Land scene where Marlo was pressing up on a security guard after he took two lollipops from the store, Easter egg. But anyway, Yeah, the fire had erupted right there. They had the SWAT. They had, all these people squad up. And at this time, it was like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And keep in mind, I was working at Hopkins, so I had to go to work the next day. And I was so mad and I was so emotionally, fatigued that I didn't even realize that I was walking and charging towards the whole line of police officers that was blocking the way for us to be able to check on her family members that were living on that block. And when I finally realized, that what was happening, one of the officers already let us through. And I was just like, I was numb. I was numb. I was numb when I was going down there filming the uprising, when I was filming us marching from City Hall to West Baltimore, the Western District. I was so numb. So that night, the family, they were okay. The fire didn't really affect their houses. And we got home probably like around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And at this time, I was like, you know what? Because I was supposed to meet up with Donnell Rawlings the next day because he wanted me to meet him at Howard Theater in DC. And I was like, man, bump that, man. The shoes is not done. I'm tired. I'm about to, just, I'm about to just chill at this point. And my past partner, she was just like, yo, please don't allow what we got going on stop you from making this thing happen, you know? So I listened to her and I stayed up that night all the way up to about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning because I already had the items prepped. And I sent them out and I was like, all right, I'm gonna at least get an hour of sleep because I gotta go to work. I had got a notification through my phone saying that Hopkins was allowing all the workers to not come into work. I was like, yes. So I was able to catch them shot eye, but I made sure I sent those images to Donnell Rawlings, the first product. I made him some Converses that had the Chappelle show onto the tongue. I made some Ashy Larry inspired Converses. He had sent me a text back. He said, yo, these are dope. Dave wants a pair. And I was just like, oh, wow. So I said, I might not be able to get a chance to give them and deliver them to you. He said, okay, that's fine. Still pull up to the show. So the shoes is done. You would think that I was like, all right, let me just pull up to the show. But I remember at that day they announced that it was a curfew for the city that nobody could leave. So I let that worry me. At that moment I allowed everything that it was happening, every excuse that or everything that every opposition that was like in front of me, I was heartbroken. So anything that you could have said that, deter me from the main mission, I would have been easily moved. And I remember my friend Pat, my coworker Pat, he was just like, nah, yo, like you need to make this happen, yo. You need to go. You need to see it all the way through. So we had got a zip car. I drove all the way down to DC. It was me, my coworker Pat, and my former coworker Pat, and my former coworker Al Gordy. We goes down there, man, and we goes to the show. Gets behind stage. I meet Donnell Rawlings for the first time. He sees the shoes. He loves them. I met his mom, and from that point on, him and I we stayed connected, even still to this day. And that opened up the doors for me being able to be commissioned to do a lot of stuff for Donnell, but also for Dave Chappelle. Donnell has like I can't even count how much items, how much art he's collected from me. And Dave, he's collected 3 pieces from me. His wife has a piece of mine as well. Always from now, that had also opened the door for Havoc and Havoc of Mardi from when Prodigy had passed away. It was around the same time that I met Dave Chappelle for the first time in person when I gave him the second pair. And the second pair was the Equanimity Air Force Ones that highlighted both of his series, the Equanimity and the Bird Revelation. And I kind of did like this V-Lone inspired Air Force One where I illustrated freehand a lot of different other sayings that he said in both of the stand-up specials on Netflix as a joke. And he received it well. I remember when he first got him, when I met him, and we was at the Lyric Opera House. And that's, man, so much things be happening at the Lyric, man. The Lyric is a very magical place. But when I met him, and I remember he was just got off the jet with Oprah, because I was following him, that he was actually in the Maryland and DC. He was in DC, he was in Virginia. And when he finally came to Baltimore to do the show, I remember when he came and he pulled up, me and Donna was already in the green room. And when he seen the shoes, he was like, "Yo, what?" The first thing he did when he first came to the back of the green room, he was like, "Where they at? Where they at?" And Donnell pointed in the direction where the shoes was. He was like, "They right there, son." And then he was like, "Oh man." He said, "Before I open this, man, I gotta let you know. Every time I see your work, it puts chills through my body." And I'm like, "What?" Yo, you Dave Chappelle. He said, "Man." And then he said, "Can I open them?" I was like, "Yeah, man, go ahead, open them, man." He opened them and he seen them and he was just like so taken back by the details, even the iceberg slim hang tag that I put on it to the left side, because all the tags that I kind of do, I make sure that something personable is close to the heart. So for him, he said the only way he was able to explain what happened to him and how um, Comedy Central had that it was a bad deal with what happened, how he walked away for $50 million was, he said at the time when he before he was able to talk about it publicly, he was like, the only way I can compare is if you were to read the book Iceberg Slim. And I feel like he went in on that on the verb revelation. So anyway, we took the photos with Donna, took the photos of us of him holding the shoes. That was like in 2018. And you know, he collected another piece in 2021 when I made like um a his and hers type of piece for him and his wife Elaine Chappelle, and that was the 846 Nike Blazers, and that was during, well, a little after COVID, because COVID was still going on in 2020 and 2021. Because I remember when I went there to the anthem, you had to, in order to even get backstage, you had to take a COVID test. They had to, you know, um, make sure that you were good, and each and every time you stepped out, they was making sure that you had to take a COVID test. So, but yeah, those are my experiences of how one commission, one project led to another. And I'm grateful that I had listened to not only, my ex girlfriend, who said, "Hey, look, whatever we got going on, please don't let this stop you from your opportunity." But I also listened to who? I also listened to Snoop, because it was Snoop that also had suggested, like, "Yo, why you stop making clothes? Like, what's up? You know what I mean? Like when I first met you, you was designing clothes. Why you stop?" And when I was with my past partner, her and I, we would just have our eyes set on me being the filmmaker. So I remember, it was other conversations that was had that I was doing the most with my designs that I make. You know what I mean? This right here is a Kurt Cobain design that you know, but I would always, you know, come up with these designs and I would be decked out from head to toe. And I remember the person who I was with was like, "Yo, you're doing too much, or you need to kind of like dumb that down." And I've allowed what they said to deter me from the whole entire creation of me making clothes. I mean, I always made clothes. That was something I always done, but I didn't see it as a thing that I wanted to do. And it wasn't until that, Snoop was like, "Yo, you should start making clothes again." And then when I started making clothes, when I got the attention on social media, I said, "Okay, if I start this again, I got to name it. I got to find a way to add some meaning to this." And that's how Akio's Glorious Heroes came about, because after I made Snoop's HD Wire Times, the following after that, I remember I was talking to a buddy of mine's, Brian, aka Greenspan, and I was telling him, I was like, "Yo, starting this shoe stuff again, I want to be able to like really identify. I want it to be something meaningful. I just don't want to just be making shoes." So he and I, we was sitting in my older apartment, the Baltimore apartments, and this is a little after I was living on my own, after I moved out of the place where me and my ex used to live. And he was just like, "Yo, like, I don't know why I keep thinking in my mind when people be pointing like, yo got those Akios." And that was when I was still looking at it from a consumer perspective. I was still looking at it from a product, not art, not fine art. So I liked what he was saying, but I said, "Okay, I'm gonna call it Akio's Glorious Heroes." And I went a little bit further. I said, "Well, Mom, she died of a heart attack." And I think in that year, in 2015, I had just found out that Akio means glorious hero and bright man. So I kind of merged that with my art, with my mother dying of a heart attack. And I wanted to actually incorporate those things about like the hang tags and all the signatures going to the left side. And I started adding a little bit secretive messages into each art piece that had a lot more detail than just surface custom. And that was in 2015, and it wasn't until Artscape of 2015 that Michael K. Williams brought it to my attention that, yo, these is not customs. Like, this is like art. This is fine art. Like, I'm putting this up. And, further down the line, I started realizing that, okay, this isn't something custom. This is a little bit something, this is something more special. And, signing, and Michael K. Williams encouraged me to sign all my art pieces at the Lyric, at Artscape in 2015. And most recently, doing that art piece. If you follow me on social media, you've seen that I've done something with Michael K. Williams, one of my recent art pieces where it's called A Promise Kept. And it's dedication to, Mike, Michael K. Williams, his the real guy who he um, portrayed in The Wire, Omar Little, the real Omar Little. I've added a burgundy color, and I've also commemorated Fran, for the lilac color, the light purple color, as it represents overdose awareness and opioid awareness. So art is really something that, you know, I live and I breathe. And through the grace of God, I'm able to use this gift to encourage others and to inspire others. And I don't take it lightly, because sometimes in some pieces it'd be like these synchronicities and serendipitous moments that it's bigger than me. It's something that is moving through me. And only when you are actually tapped in and you take a step back and you see the bigger picture and it really like reveals something a lot more deeper. But that concludes, this Saturday's Art is Life, what I mean, Art Life, video. I hope that you guys took a lot from this. I just want to be able to share another piece of me to you and share with you guys, you know, behind the art. And I'm working on a few things. I'm excited to share with you guys. For those who are not following me, follow me on IG. I'm working to be a little bit more transparent, not caring about the algorithms, not caring about, only caring about consistency. So this is going to be for 30 days. And after the 30 days, I may start a new channel. And if you do like this content, I would just direct you guys to the new channel, and we're going to be rocking and rolling from there. But I appreciate you guys, all the views. You know what I mean? I'm really dedicated to being consistent, and I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to share a different side of me. So, all right, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Enjoy y'all weekend, and happy early Mother's Day to all the mothers. You know what I mean? Peace.